Okay, we'll call the regular meeting of Hamwell Council together for April the 19th, 2025. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda with addition 8H?
April 16th.
April 16th,
What was it? April 16th?
19th.
Oh. April 16th? Yeah. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda, please, with addition 8H, UNB Rural Digitalization Program?
I, Councillor Dooley, move to approve the agenda.
With?
Seconder? Yeah. Questions, comments?
No, sorry,
No.
it has to be.
It's not correct then.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I, Councillor Dooley, move to approve the agenda with the following addition, 8H, UNB Rural Digitalization Program.
Seconder?
Councillor Graham, second.
Okay. Any questions, comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you. Moving on to the consent section.
I, Councillor Mackenzie, move to adopt the consent section with removal of the Upper Kingsford Fire Department report. We move to business arising 7A.
I, Councillor Holt, will second.
Any questions, comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you, council. Any disclosures this evening, council? No, we're good. I don't believe there's any public input. And I don't believe we have any presentations, petitions, or delegations. No, business arising from the consent section is, of course, the Upper Kingsford Fire Department report, and we have Steve here tonight to give the report.
March wasn't a overly busy month, but I'm sure as the grass greens up, it'll become busier. We had 16 calls the month of March, so kept us busy enough. Any questions?
No questions for Steve? You guys are letting him off easy.
Yeah, quiet month.
I'd like to, a special thank you, though, to our fire department and fellow first responders for their efforts to subdue a serious incident at Kingsclear First Nation. That was yesterday, I believe.
Yesterday, yes. I cannot speak on that as it is an active investigation through the RCMP, so.
Yeah. So. Anyway, can I get a motion to receive the fire department report?
I, Councillor Holt, move to receive the fire department report for March.
Second.
Councillor Fox, second.
Questions, comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Well, thank you, Steve. You
No
can
problem.
you can stay and watch if you desire. We're always happy to have some people in their audience.
I would love to, but I have some training to get to tonight, so I will leave you to it.
Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it, man. Yeah. Okay, moving on to new business. We have a Heart and Stroke Foundation annual door-to-door campaign. Again, this is just a message to all residents to let them know that the Heart and Stroke Foundation will be doing their door-to-door campaign from April to September. And we have a request from Bowl for Kids' Sake from the Big Brothers. And we're looking for a donation that was in your package under 8B, March the 3rd, 2025. That was from John Foley.
I, Councillor Highslip, move to accept the correspondence from Big Brothers Big Sisters with respect to making a donation to Bowl for Kids' Sake and authorize and direct the clerk to make a donation in the amount of $250.
Second.
Councillor Fox, second.
All right, any questions, comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried, thank you. Item C is the Yoho Park Pavilion. So this is for construction at the pavilion at our new Yoho Park, just back on the Yoho Lake Road. And that's that piece of property we got from the Boy Scouts of Canada. It's about a 10-acre piece on the, what would it be, Deputy Mayor, that's on the southwesterly corner.
It's on the Yoho Lake Road.
Yep. So can I get a motion?
I, Councillor Fox, move to award the contract for the construction of the pavilion at Yoho Park to Atlantic Post and Beam in the amount of $41,140 plus HST to be completed by September 15th, 2025.
I, Councillor Mackenzie, second.
Okay, any questions, comments?
I did have, just for clarification, some of this looks like it's a draft proposal, so One of my questions was, it says the site work will be determined outside of the construction contract. So I wanted clarification on exactly what site work we were talking about. Was that for the pavilion,
So
or-
with that, I'm thinking maybe the ground might need to be leveled, we might have to put in some gravel or something like that. So I had just said that there would have to be possible site work. I can't imagine it being a large amount, and we do have money budgeted for parks and recreation and stuff, so it could be something that could come out of that. If it ended up being a phenomenal amount, I will certainly bring it back to you, but it fits within my authorization budget. We could just
Yeah, because that's just
approve
in,
it.
it's in a raw state there right now. They just cut the trees, remove the stumps. So you can imagine it's all like raw earth. So it's gonna need some work to probably, an access culvert, roadways, some gravel in there and a pad, where to put that pavilion.
I guess that was my question, was whether it's gonna be crusher dust, whether we're gonna put in like a cement pad, what's needed, and whether that's gonna be done in time for him to start his, or does it need to be done in time for him to start?
Maybe Councillor Jonah?
Yeah. I
Yeah,
can speak
Deputy
on all
Mayor
of
Jonah
it.
has a comment?
Well, yeah, I can speak on all of that. As you said, all that's been done is the trees have been taken down and the stumps have been taken out. In order to do anything, in order to build parking lot, a lawn, the playground equipment, the whole area is gonna have some work done to it. I mean, you couldn't draw, you can't walk in there right now. I mean, you will once it dries a bit. But I mean, it's still just a rough ground. So I mean, whatever work is done is gonna have a certain amount of, work done just to get in there, to get your car off the road. As far as this thing goes, it will be the same, very similar to, there's no cement pad, there's no foundation, it'll be very similar to the one we have here in the park, just the crushed gravel and whatever.
Okay, so saying that, council, we're probably going to have to put out a contract to have that work done
Yes.
as well, so you might want to make a separate motion to authorize us to be able to do that.
Yeah, Councillor Curtis had a question?
So with this timeline, to me, it looks like we're putting the cart ahead of the horse. Should have the groundwork done before we do a building.
Absolutely.
It's gonna have to be done.
It's gonna have to be
Yeah.
done, and
You can't do
that
anything.
timeline's not gonna, there's gotta be some time.
Well, I mean, I would think that we can amend our contract if we can't have the ground,
Yeah, oh, totally, but I'm just,
I mean, I think it's good to have the contract out there now to have the thing built, because I mean, it's prefabricated,
Mhm.
pretty much.
Yep.
And so, if it's our fault that we don't get the groundwork done in time, well then, at least we've still got, we'll have to work with him on building this thing and the delivery and the setup of it. And then that's on us after that. Because if we put the contract off too much longer and say we were able to get the groundwork done by August,
yeah,
or something like that, well then, if we only order the wooden structure then, we're not gonna get it
Oh, yeah.
before fall. So, I mean, it makes sense to at least have the thing ordered, and then, try and get our stuff done in enough time to get it in as fast as we can.
Yeah, if we can get the groundwork done before he's ready to deliver,
Yeah.
that would be the key.
That would be the greatest thing.
So maybe in the motion, instead of saying like September for him to have it completed, maybe also put in a clause there to do with the site work, like to make sure that the site work is finished or something like that.
Yeah, Councillor Dooley.
For April 22nd, 2025 to be the anticipated start date, is that anticipating the start of the construction of it?
April 20.
Off-site, or are we,
Like him fabricating.
he's
Yeah.
fabricating,
Yeah.
and then there's a period in between the 22nd of April and September 15th that he then starts. So do we know when he has a potential start of physical construction on the site that we could know now?
Well, when I talked to him, he was sort of calculating how many other projects he had over the summer, and he says, I can probably have it up in August or September. And
And the delivery time's pretty quick.
The delivery time would be then, I don't know exactly when he'll actually go and cut the beams and do
Sure.
whatever. He could do that along with some other things he's working at. But the idea was to have it up and installed in that amount of time. That was assuming that we have, you know, that he can actually get in
Preliminary
there.
work done.
The preliminary work done.
Right.
Yeah, so I mean, I think sticking with his timeline is not a bad idea. Because, you know, and hopefully we can hold up our end too, because like I'm saying, if he doesn't start, we want him to start working on it and have it pre-made.
Right.
So that's just the labor part that,
Yeah.
if we have to delay, well, then we'll have to work that out with him. But if we don't order it soon, then he's got no reason to start
Right.
Working.
Delay start on him is just a pushing of a
pushing it
delivery time.
into winter and then we're
He
waiting.
needs his time to be able to fabricate.
That's right,
Fabrication
yeah.
is separate from the physical
Yeah.
construction of it on
Yeah,
site.
exactly.
Yeah.
And there's no cash transferred until such time as the
Until we
Yeah,
have it.
structure is on site.
correct.
That's right.
So we have time between probably now and August to get our preliminary work figured out.
I would hope so.
Yeah,
We should put that out as soon as the ground dries up.
right.
We should
Yeah.
have it out, we should.
Put it out now. Put it out now.
Yeah, just exactly, have them working on it when the ground dries up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we should have that put out.
So, I have another question then. So do you need a motion this evening to put out a tender for the site work?
I would like to have a tender, or a motion for that, just to authorize and direct staff, to move ahead with.
Right.
With the tender to
With the tender.
prepare the ground back there in the Yoho Recreation Park.
Okay, and my other question is, just for clarification again, it says the roof will be, ceiling will be made of 2-inch planks. 2 by, do we have a specification? Do we, like I said, 2 by 6, 2 by?
No, that's just
Well,
what his,
that's part of what,
that was just part of his quote, it just said 2-inch planks,
Yeah, that'd be the 2-inch thickness, so I
Yeah, so
suspect
they'll
they'd probably,
likely be 2 by 6 would be my guess.
2 by 6
Should we
anyway.
clarify that so we know?
No, we don't need to know that, as long as it meets the engineer's drawings and meets code.
Yeah, it'll
And
be made to code, right?
yeah, we don't care if it's 2 by 6, 2 by 8. My guess is just by the side of the building, it'll be 2 by 6.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the roof, you wanted to
Yeah.
know the color?
yes.
I personally don't have any preference as to the color
I always wanted to look and
of
see
the roof.
what options he had. I did see one in the picture that he sent us, which was, you know, that beigey thing that actually looked quite nice. But I mean, it's a decision that could be made anytime up between now and September.
Probably want some kind of earth tone or something.
Well, I don't know.
Neutralish, or what do you think?
There's only, I know more colors that I don't care for than ones that I, as long as it's not bright red,
Right.
Yeah, right
Orange.
orange, yeah.
green. So I mean, I'd like to see, we've not, there's a lot of these things, like, we've not seen the options of what we have for colors, so.
again, we can add, we'll add the
We can add
color into
that.
the contract, so.
And then what about insurance? There was a question here about the contractor's responsibilities.
Yes, so they'll have to provide, insurance, so anybody that lately has worked with us has had to have a $5 million, insurance. And I was going to talk to, Capital Regional Service Commission to see if they think 1 million, because we used to have 1 million.
That's a lot,
Yeah, for
Five
especially
is-
for,
especially for smaller.
Fair amount,
Yeah.
however, for, I can see it when it is certain jobs, but I don't know if this would need a $5 million one, so I was just wanting to, check
check with them and see.
with them, but I can fill that out, like, I'll make sure that we're covered.
For a business doing what we're asking this business to do, it wouldn't surprise me if it was a $2 million. The average would probably be a $2 million liability for a company working in this kind of
Right.
space.
Yeah, so, again, I've been on vacation, so I haven't had a chance to, check
As long
with
as-
them, but I can certainly, I'll have an amount filled in on that contract.
Okay, any other questions? I
Yes.
know Councillor Kraus has one, and then Councillor
Councillor
Holt,
Kraus.
let's go.
So in here, so under the project says the contractor shall complete all the work on the Yoho building and specified below. Part of it is the package will include concrete block foundation.
Yeah, there's
So
no
they're gonna
point.
have,
Oh, what do you mean by,
I don't know what it means, like it says in there, concrete block foundation. That's what it says, it's the second line down.
Yeah, that, I just took everything from his quote that he gave you
Oh, okay,
guys,
so that's from him?
that is everything that was in his.
So is
quote.
he anticipating that we're putting the, floor in?
no, he and I talked about that.
He's probably just talking about.
He's probably talking about like a
corner
sonotubes or
block.
something.
Yeah.
It'd basically be the same one that's over there by the
It's over
playground.
here.
It's got like a crushed rock, crusher dust foundation, or
Yeah.
crusher rock
Yeah.
on the floor.
Because we discussed that, because I had suggested actually that we put, some kind of a floor on it, like we have over here. And he said, well, you could, but, he said if you want it to be accessible, where you can just wheel right into it in a wheelchair or get kids into it. He said, what about just going with the kind of, the one that's out back farther, the rectangular one that's out back on the trail, where it's just, he said anybody can get into it. I said, well, that's probably really as good of idea as any. And then you don't have to worry about the floor rotting out or whatever in years.
And then accessibility, you need
Yeah,
ramps.
it was
and
an
whatnot.
accessibility issue is why we
Yeah.
thought we would
It's
just go with
level
it.
ground is so much easier.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's easy to repair crusher dust.
Oh,
Yeah.
by far.
and if you ever did decide you needed a floor in there, you can always add to it, sort of thing, but.
Councillor Holt.
The wording, project. The contract amount below and payment is $41,140 plus HST for $47,311. Pavilion kit, dormer, and sanding / varnishing as detailed under project. Do we need the wording of additional cost of $3,500 plus HST and additional cost of $2,000 plus HST in this contract? Where it's already inclusive in the price and therefore it's redundant. What he is going to be doing is installing, putting the dormer in. He's also going to be sanding and applying varnish and putting the pavilion kit up for the total sum of $41,140. I do not see where we actually need that additional cost of $3,500 plus HST or $2,000 plus HST.
Because it wasn't included,
Is it included in the $41,140 plus HST?
yes.
Then I don't think we need to have that particular part put in. It just complicates and confuses.
Yeah, I can.
As long as he doesn't come back and say, oh, well, that was just my original. Like, I would rather have it specified saying, this is, we want the
That-
dormer,
that
we
to
want
me-
varnish.
That to me leads to confusion.
Okay.
Okay. Councillor Dooley.
To Councillor Holt's point, if the dormer and the sanding and varnish packages are included in the 41,000, then we could change it so that it would be not the wording of additional, it would just be, if we wanted to have the value of it in there, we could remove the word addition and cost and just say that this package is valued at X amount of dollars.
Including the
Included.
dormer.
Included
the
in-
dormer, the varnish.
That's right,
Whatever else.
as opposed to the addition, because the word additional cost doesn't mean that then it would be an election, like you would elect to add it after, over top of the,
It doesn't
The blanket
sound,
number.
it
Yeah,
doesn't sound
I
like.
think it's contradictory, yeah,
that's
exactly.
right, yeah.
But even though under contracted amount, I specify it's the pavilion kit, it's the dormer, and it's the sanding for the 41,000?
Yeah, if those two things are contradicting each other in the contract.
The word additional, like the wording of additional cost is inviting
Okay.
the option of it being added on top of,
I'll
Yeah,
change it
just
to
strike the
value
word
of-
additional would do.
Value of.
value of, included. Or including the value of, yeah,
I'm more comfortable with that.
Yeah, me too.
But-
yeah, that's good, yeah.
Okay.
Good catch, check.
Okay, Councillor Heisler.
The only other question I had was there was some concern about change orders and increasing the costs. So under the contract amount, it does say subject to additions and deductions by change order and the approval of Panama. So is that something we want? I know all contracts sometimes have a change order, but there was concern expressed about this ending up being a much more expensive project. So I'm wondering where the change order stops,
Or is it necessary?
Well, I
or
don't,
is it necessary?
I don't think there was any discussion about anything else being added to it that would be, make it much more expensive. I mean, if we, for some reason, something did come up that people thought we wanted to add to it, which I don't know what it would be right now. I mean, it seems like a standard thing to put in there just in case somebody at the last minute saw something that you really needed to do, then you have the option of going back to council and having it, you know.
That would be secondary to this contract, though.
Change orders could also refer to something that has a $0 value. It could be a neutral adjustment. Could be that we chose a green roof and then we later decided we wanted it to be red.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and then if we chose that it was red, it's not that the contractor is making a request for more or less. It's mainly about us. It's allowing us the opportunity to interject as much as that.
I think the thought was more that he may have forgotten to add something
Right.
into his quote. So we just wanted to ensure that there wasn't additions being added to it.
But it also has, it's the approval of Hanwell, so if contractor ever forgets to put something in, then it's up to you guys if you're going to approve it.
Right.
I can take that out. Most construction contracts I've ever seen have always kind of had that wording. I took this from.
Yeah.
No,
Change order.
I took this
I
from
think the
another.
clarification is sufficient for me, to make it
Yeah.
comfortable.
Yeah,
We just don't want additional costs and additional costs and additional costs.
right.
Which is a fear, I think, on any buying side,
I mean, yeah.
regardless of whom it is.
But you still have final.
Yeah, you still have
Yes.
fun.
Okay.
We have control.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
No.
Good. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried, thank you. Moving on to item D.
No,
No,
Nope.
another motion.
did you say contrary minded?
Yeah.
You said contrary minded. Okay, the clerk should have written that down.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And we need a separate motion.
For what?
The groundwork.
For groundwork.
Oh, the groundwork, sorry.
I, Councillor Heislip, motion to authorize and direct the clerk to send out a tender to prepare the site for the Yoho Lake Park.
I, Councillor McKenzie, second.
okay. Any comments, questions? No comments, questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you, council. Now we need a motion for the playground equipment for Yoho Park, item 8D.
I have questions on that.
On that.
Why we were doing right now a motion to pick a price for the park equipment. I didn't think we were that far along. I made a list of some things. I gave them to Taylor to,
So with this, I was just wondering kind of a price, so that, because when Taylor had spoke to council, one of the contractors that installed playground equipment was saying that if we want to do anything and to have it for this year, we almost need to have it ordered like this month or whatever. So I thought if you kind of put like a max amount, then it's something I'm going to be able to authorize, instead of having to wait until next council meeting, and then it's gonna be too late for us to get it this year. So we kind of did the same thing when we were doing the lawnmower.
Oh, yeah.
We said it was going to be a max of a certain amount, and then I didn't have to bring it back. We negotiated the best deals, but then I was able just to do it.
But in turn, a lawnmower is a lawnmower is a lawnmower, okay?
yeah.
This is
Not what we were-
equipment. This is equipment, okay? And do we know what the price points are
No.
for the equipment?
Point of order, there's no
There's no
motion's
motion.
been made and we haven't motioned to suspend.
That's right.
Correct.
So you can motion to suspend if you want to discuss.
All right, then I'll make a motion to suspend the rules.
Second it?
Second that, Councilor Holt.
No, my only
Wait,
point,
wait, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Okay, the rules are now suspended.
Okay, my only point was, like I say, I was talking to Taylor a week or so ago, I guess, when you were gone. And so he gave me the large book from the only company, the other ones from Quebec that I had wanted to get information from, just never got back to me. So I got the book from him, sometime last week. I went through it. I asked for ideas, I gave him a list. I said, I know this list is kind of long, but, I have no idea what the price of anything is. These were the things that, the basic things that we thought we needed. I also put a call for people just to give me suggestions on the Yoho site. So anyway, long story short, I made a list. I said, I know it's long, we probably aren't gonna go with all of this stuff, but can you price out what these things are? So, because I have no idea, not a clue. Like you say, with a lawnmower, I might have a rough idea of what a lawnmower might cost, or something, but this is varies so much. That's why I'm just, what would we even put for a number?
And I guess, for me, what I was wondering, and I think that every community park that we put in should kind of be about the same amount of money. We shouldn't be spending $500,000 in one subdivision and $30,000 in another. I think that they should all kind of be reasonably the same kind of thing. So that's why I was kind of thinking, like, do you guys have an idea of what you would like to spend? Are you thinking it's going to be a smaller park of, say, 50, 60,000? Or are you thinking that it's going to be a big park and it's going to be a $1 million park?
But then again, Terry, we don't have any idea of the cost of any of
Yeah.
the
Okay.
The gear, yeah.
Can I
Yeah.
gear.
Can I interject for a second?
Sure.
I will tell you that Taylor, the person that's providing the quotes for this, has asked him several times, what is your budget? He wants a budget. He needs to know the budget of what it's gonna cost, like what you guys are looking at. You're looking at 150,000, then he can build you a playground. That's what he, like, each individual piece, I mean, he can do it, but it's not, it's a much more complicated way of doing it. That's why he's looking for a budget.
I hate when it gets asked that way, because that
Yeah.
basically, he makes up the price
He
for what it wants to be.
he in turn has
I think-
carte blanche to structure what he wants.
I think we kind of have to have a know of what we want for equipment, to be
Yeah.
like swings and the slide and the climbing structure.
An interesting approach could be that we sit down and we say, look, to Terry's point, maybe there's a package A, a package B, and a package C, and a package A is us working on building a series of pieces that we know fit on an acre lot. I'm just saying, here's 1 acre's worth of park, here's what you would do if you had a 2-acre plot of property and you put a park on it, here's what if it was a 3+. And we could go to them and say, look, these are the things that we're thinking about doing on in an area this size, what's the price for that?
Yeah.
And then what's the price for this, and then what's the price for that? Like, actually go into as if we're planning for the future, index it every year and look at it and say, if it was 50,000 this year, it could be 52,000 next year and 54 the next.
Yeah.
And then we can then look at that and say, okay, we know we're gonna put a park in this year, what package are we actually thinking? A, B,
Yeah,
or
we
C?
have to know what we want in equipment before we
Well-
can expect a
Well,
quote.
that's the thing, we get some idea of the equipment and say him, build some packages out of this
Yeah.
and tell us what it costs.
As opposed
Then
to
we
the other way.
either scale it up or down based on the cost of that.
Well, this is basically what I did. I went through the book he had, and you basically have a 2-seater swing, a 4-seater swing, a 6, whatever. I went through and looked at the very basic stuff, like you say, the swings, the climbing thing, whatever. Then I did look at some other accessories that would be nice, like, but not necessarily necessary. They had, if you were going there with your kids, they had these, nice benches that were covered and whatever. So I said, just to find me the price of what these things, so I put in a lot more things we probably would end up with. But if they want to make a package out of, yes, I understand the idea of the flow of, if you go from here to there to there to there, they can do that. But I mean, to me, just have a rough idea, and basically most of the stuff I went with, I kind of went the middle size of the road, because it just seemed to make sense. And I was curious how much space it would take up. I know there were things I put in there that were more for older kids and some younger kids, so that you could maybe pick one of those things for the older people. So I tried to make it as broad as I could, and knowing that we're not going to get everything. And so I don't understand why they just can't
Yeah, like
with something like that.
yeah, like they should know, based on
Yeah.
the size we're trying to build, how much of those
Yeah.
things would fit and flow into it, and then
Yeah.
just give us a cost of it.
But we don't know the size we want to build. You guys haven't told us the size
Well,
you
the
want, right?
size is cleared off.
Councillor Fox?
Okay, but you're right, we haven't told you, because we don't have a price. How much is a swing set?
Yeah, I don't know.
How
what
much
it
is
costs.
this?
Yeah, that's
Just give
it,
us
yeah.
each individual item, here's
At
what it
least the
costs.
basic
right?
stuff, and
And
then
then, yeah, then we'll have an idea,
we
right?
can add
Some of
to it,
the-
or.
I think we gotta find out some prices of certain basic pieces of equipment that we want
Candace
for
was
the
gonna say
playground.
something.
So,
What about, I just have a question, what did, like, could we even guesstimate with what this
Yeah.
park cost? Which I realize inflation and all of that, but that's probably what you're thinking, right? Like, if we've spent so much on one park, we could kind of say, okay, with inflation, whatever. I don't even know, I don't even know what that
It was
costs.
250
So-
grand for that kit out there with all the stuff
Was it
included, and the
250?
ground
Yeah,
wood,
it
you
was.
know,
For
wrapped
three
in.
something?
It was 250 plus.
250, because we had the grant.
We had the $150,000 grant, and then there was more added on. But in terms of spending the same at each playground, it's virtually impossible.
It is.
Because just depending on the amount of property you have, like if you look at the one by Hercart Lake, there's no way you could put in a huge playground, so it's
Yeah,
just
you just
not
don't
gonna
have
Probably
happen.
is better to do like you were saying.
Right.
have a couple.
Exactly, it has to be suitable to whatever
whatever,
is there.
you know, whatever's located, the size of the piece of
So
property.
you know the size of the piece of property out there, never mind, you don't wanna take up the whole property. Like at least on that piece of property we have, there were three things really planned for it. There was the playground, the parking lot, and the pavilion. The pavilion isn't gonna take up all that much room, because I mean, it is only 18 by, or, what did we say?
18 by
18 by
36?
36, yes. And of course, you're gonna need some room around it, you're not gonna jam it up to the hood, so I mean, it will probably take up, if you were to put it over on the left, right-hand corner, which is kind of how I thought about it, it will probably take up that space down there, now where the parking lot should be and whatever, because I would, actually been trying to get Taylor to come out with me sometime, because I mean, he knows more about planning, because for the planning for next year, for a paved surface, where are you gonna put it, are you gonna go across that trail and just put a path into it, or are you gonna go beside it and cut more over there, like, I don't believe there's enough room for the three things to go in that one small lot, it seems so big until you cut it, and then it's not as big as it looks.
Council, this is my thing. When we started talking about this piece of property a year or so ago, you asked staff to provide you with information and books and everything else to be able to pick out stuff. You never came back to give us any direction. So once again, we have this plot of land. We have no idea, like, we know we're putting in this pavilion. I have no idea how big this parking lot is supposed to be.
The same size as the small one out here, I've measured that and told you guys ages ago, that we kind of figured would be an average size.
And then we don't know how big the park is. Then you have also talked about this multi-purpose surface, so
That's a later
it's
phase.
very
of that.
hard for staff to go and say, okay, we'd like a quote on this size playground. Well, they could give it to us, and then we come back, and then you guys say, I'm sorry, this doesn't even fit on, like, you've got to, if you need something from staff, you've really got to give us direction, like,
A little more specific than
Well,
just the playground.
yes.
I mean, I thought we had tried, I mean, I've asked numerous people to come out to look at it over the years, and nobody wanted to go in the woods. And even it's been cut, I don't think a soul besides me has been out to look at it. So, I mean, I've tried to get people to come out and look, I've even, you know, whatever. I basically, I went up here and I measured this this area, I went down there and I measured the parking lot, and I've told people, I've even written it down at some point, put a map with, this is the size of parking lot that we think would be an appropriate amount of cars. I mean, I've done all this stuff, and I went and got the books from Taylor, and, you know, I gave him a list a week ago, I mean, I didn't expect to hear back from him this quickly on what the prices would be. But I mean, and I was asking him how much space would this all take? I said, I know the size out here, well, can we fit it all into there? And then I gave him the list, said, can you check with your companies? Because I know each one of them says how big in the space you need around each thing. So, I mean,
But you have done what your wish list
well, I'm trying to get people to
is,
come out,
but has council as a whole decided, or are you just okay with Sue's, or
Well, no, but-
deputy mayor?
well, to be
wanted
honest-
To make that.
So
That's
I
fine.
thought, I thought Taylor was gonna be heavily involved
Yes.
in
And
it,
I
because
didn't-
he's the director
Yeah.
of Parks and Recreation,
Right.
so I thought he was gonna be heavily involved. I didn't realize, to be honest, that he wanted more input from council about what we wanted out there.
Like-
So,
We will pick out a playground.
Well, no, the only thing I was surprised about was to see us putting a dollar figure on it tonight. I thought that it would go, you know, that I gave him kind of an idea, and that Taylor would go and talk to them, and then Taylor would get back to us about, you know,
Right.
what these things are and what it would cost, and then we would decide how much we wanted to spend.
Which is fine, I was just trying to, if you guys kind of put in an amount, if we had to have this done before the end of the month, then I'm not calling another council meeting next week for you, so.
We can't have it done by the end of the month. We don't, there's not enough information, especially by the information we've had
Yeah,
tonight on
No,
this.
no, but I mean, because they were going to get us quotes on, I believe, what
There's,
the deputy mayor,
he,
Jonah,
he has been speaking with
yeah.
whomever.
had provided them, so we
Yeah.
I can have another council meeting next week and bring quotes back, and then you guys can
Well,
do
I mean, I
it.
had no idea how long it would take him, I didn't expect him to have it ready for this meeting, because I mean, we just didn't get it to him in time. So there were, that's why I was just surprised, because I mean, I have no idea what you can get for whatever number we would come up with.
Okay, let's, Councillor Heislip has a question, and then
just a quick,
Councillor Holt.
would a solution be to do as the CAO has requested, to make a maximum like of 250,000,
That's what I'm thinking.
but for him, whoever, to come back with 3 different scenarios or 4 different scenarios, so that we have at least some way, and you can order it if it
Well, that's fine, as long as we have
A reason.
a reasonable number, and
Right.
you only have a $50,000,
Well, 50,000 will not
it
get
was
you
won't
anything.
do anything,
Councillor
so.
Holt?
I don't agree with putting a maximum dollar figure on anything. Councillor Jonah, Deputy Mayor Jonah, has done an awesome amount of work on this particular project, and she spearheaded it from basically from day one. I have, now, the question, and it's a legitimate question, how big of a lot do we want to put the equipment on? That's a legitimate question as well.
Right now.
Okay, now, in turn, Deputy Mayor Jonah thought that perhaps, okay, our recreational director would be able to come out and take a look at the site.
And he will,
I have
that's-
no problem going out and taking this lady's expertise, if you will, or knowledge of that particular thing, and say, okay, this is where I anticipate it being, this is where I think it should be. Okay, what's the size of that? Take that and give that to,
The size of the whole lot is approximately 60 meters by 32 meters,
but what I'm saying,
not 20.
Deputy Mayor, is that why don't a couple of us go out and say, okay, fine, this is gonna be where the parking lot is, this is gonna be that, or whatever.
I think we have to know what equipment we want, so then
Yeah.
we know if it's gonna, how much room it's gonna take up.
Yeah, because we have lots of room. There's plenty of room there. It's a good sized piece that was cut. For the 3 things that we anticipated putting in this year, there's all kinds of room there. It's just a matter of where you locate it.
So we're looking at stage 1, stage 2, stage 3 type of,
At least one and 2, you know, I don't know. Once you get the paved surface in there, people will stop beating on my doors. And that is actually the thing that they're
just
looking
put
for.
all, no, any trespasser will be shot, that'll stop that.
No, it won't. Not yellow.
There won't.
No,
Councilor
you get the
McKenzie.
5
So it
basketball nets
sounds
off the
like,
road.
we're close, like there's
Yeah,
more
we are.
information now, like, it sounds like it's already progress being made between the deputy mayor and, or recreation director with working with the company to gather more information. Why are we interrupting that process now and trying to jump the gun on something? I think it's, let the process continue the way, where it's going right now. It sounds like you're already headed in the right direction. There's no motion on the floor for this right now anyway. Let's revisit it once we have more information, once we get some patterns and some options for A, B, and C or whatever to put these things together as packages. Send them out to everybody and let's have some opinions on it. And then when we come back to meet again about it, we can have just a full proper discussion with some numbers to be able to know what to play with.
That makes sense.
That's my opinion, my thought on it.
Okay, and Councillor Gould.
Question I just have is in relation to the urgency to hold a special meeting around this playground equipment is for what reason?
Because it
Snow
needed to be ordered by the end of the month in order for us to have it installed this year.
Last time we ended up putting that into the snowbank,
Okay,
because it takes a long time to get the stuff.
Well,
That's
you gotta
why
order it early in order to get it for this year.
It really should have been ordered in January.
sure, this sounds like something that should have been done in the winter,
Yeah,
so you have it for the spring.
yeah.
Pretty much.
And that's
Okay.
why,
Forgot.
once we
Here we
get
are.
this ordered,
Yeah,
we'll start
okay.
talking about the other, cutting for the other field.
Okay, Councillor Fox.
Okay, and so, I'm very similar, I think, to what Councillor Heislip said. I would like to see staff come back with recommendations. Go look at the site, come back with the recommendation, the preferred recommendation, and then maybe a couple other options. But like, let's see what staff thinks about it, having been out there and looked at it, and then that'll give us something to go by. Because I think we don't want to, as council, I don't think we should be getting into the operational weeds anyway.
Well, let's leave this, like Councillor McKenzie said, there's no motion on the floor. So we'll move on until we get a little more information of what we, what pieces we want and what they're gonna cost. And then take it from
We're
there.
close, it's already in progress, we're just letting the process
Let,
continue.
let the process continue. Everybody good with that?
I am.
Okay, so let's strike 8D and we'll move on to 8E. And we need a motion to suspend the rules here again, because our CAO is going to give us some information on E on land acquisition.
I, Councillor Heislip, move to suspend the rules.
Councillor Hope will second.
Any questions, comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, the rules are now suspended. I don't think we've ever unsuspended.
Okay, council, so this is really the first time that we've kind of discussed this land acquisition in open council. We've kind of mentioned it a couple of times briefly. So you had asked me to negotiate a deal with Spring Hill Farms to acquire the property along the Hamwell Road. So this is the property that goes from Signature Sound behind the log homes up into almost the storage area, isn't it? Is that the storage area right there?
Yeah.
U-Haul
Yes,
storage.
the
Yeah.
U-Haul. So it also backs onto a lot of the properties that are on Camber Drive. So it is 15.27 acres of land, which is a very large property. This could be used for so many opportunities, recreation, seniors houses, community gardens, the list goes on and on. So on Camber Drive, there is a lot that the province or DTI has that is an access road for a future street. So with this property, that is going to be part of, like it backs onto that. So I have contacted DTI to ask them what the process is if we decided we wanted to put in a future street, and I haven't heard back from them, but it's something we can work on later. So with this property, where the log home is, there is, the owners have part of the road there that accesses a woodlot. They are willing to give us that road. However, we just have to put in another culvert and build a little bit of a road so that they can still access their woodlot and stuff. So we've gone back and forth a few times for this property. And we have come up with a price for the 15 acres. It is going to be $609,200 plus HST. So with that, we also have to build that road and put in a culvert or whatever, which probably shouldn't be too much money. It's a very small area to put that in. And we have been talking about having a closing date of May 29th, so this is something that could happen very quickly. So what they have requested, the vendor and I have done a purchase and sales agreement. So within 48 hours of signing the agreement, we have to give them a non-refundable deposit of $10,000. This is going to be in trust to their lawyer, and then the balance will be due at closing. As I said, the closing date is going to be May 29th. We are solely responsible for the cost associated with the surveying of the land identified as lot 2025-1, as shown on Schedule 1 that we have provided to you in your package. This is including the cost of preparation, the approval, and the registration of the plan of the subdivision. So, purchaser shall be responsible for the installation of a new 9-meter wide culvert and the construction of a new access road that's a minimum of 5.48 meters wide that connects with the existing access road known as the Woods Road. The culvert installation and the road relocation should be completed within 6 months of the closing date, which I don't see any problem of us having that done. Upon signing of the agreement, the purchaser shall pay to the vendor's solicitor in trust an additional sum of $10,000, and that's just going to be held until that culvert installation and the access road is completed, and it will not be refunded if we don't complete it. So with the road that I was telling you about from Camber, the area that we are purchasing, that backs to Spring Hill Farms' other property, and they have asked to have it in the agreement that they can still access their property, that we won't cut them off in the future, and I didn't see any issues with that. It would probably be a great idea for us to actually turn that over into a public road so that we can have access maybe to our, whatever we put there, our recreation or seniors complex, we could have it access from there or from the Hamwell Road, whatever you decided to do. So these will be brought up to DTI standards, and the purchaser will take required steps to have the possible future street dedicated as a public street. Whatever. So I have done, this is going to require a few motions. I have them listed out for you. So the first one that I did was just to continue with negotiations, but we can do this motion if you are not in agreement or if you want any changes to this contract. If not, we no longer have to negotiate, and you guys can just go on with the other motions for me to move ahead with the purchase of this property. But this is a great opportunity for us, especially being right on the Hamwell Road. There's not much property left, and the fact that we can also have a future street coming off of Camber as well, so.
I just have one question regarding the street when we get to questions.
Okay, any questions for Terry? Yeah. Deputy Mayor Jonah?
You're talking about the future street, you mentioned something about asking about the possibility of it being a public street. Well, there's no question, if we're ever going to use this, that needs to be a public street. So are you talking that they are going to upgrade it to a public street, or that we will?
So in the contract, it actually states that either, because if they decide they wanted to put in subdivision on their property, They have it worded in the contract that they would do the upgrades,
Okay.
2 hours or whatever, but it would kind of be like a joint thing. So either they would do it or we would do it, but it would be our responsibility
To
to make
negotiate
it
with
to,
DTI.
it's a public street.
Right, because I mean, there's no question it's gonna have to be a public street for any development that goes in there. And it is a fairly large cost, that's why I'm just wondering, you've kinda said two things at the same time. One is we'll negotiate, and if they wanna do it first, they'll pay for it, if we wanna do it first, we'll pay for it.
Well, I
That's
think
not
it's
really-
kind of one of those things, like, we cannot cut off access to their property. That's kind of what they are saying, like, either.
Right. But my point is, who's gonna pay the cost? The cost to make any, I mean, I realize it's not a very long street, but the cost to bring it up to DTI standards is quite expensive. And so that's why I'm just wondering, who's gonna take, do we know now, who's gonna take the responsibility to put that into a public street, us or them?
So it says, in the agreement that I provided to you, the purchaser shall grant to the vendor the right to develop the possible future street to a public street in
Right.
accordance with DTI standards, or in such other manner that will not impede future development thereof to DTI standards. The purchaser further agrees that in the event that the possible future street is developed either by the purchaser or the vendor to DTI standards, the purchaser will take the required steps to have a possible future street dedicated as a public street.
That sounds like we have to pay for the upgrade to it.
No,
It's
no.
the opposite.
It sounds clear as mud. Basically, the idea, the impression I'm getting is if they decide first that they wanna put it up to a public street, they will pay for it. And if we decide we wanna, but we have to let them do it, which is fine. Or then if we decided first that we wanna make it a public street, then we pay for it. So that's basically the agreement, okay.
Are we gonna have title to that street?
We have, it is part of ours.
Okay, cause I remember it on the plan or whatnot, I had a piece of property behind the public street and in front, but that
Yeah.
public street was being reserved out to the current owner to have access to his property.
No, we have made an agreement that we will never cut off access to his, because that future street goes from on our land
Yeah.
and then also onto his.
It comes
Gary's
off of
roots.
Canberra, cuts in across our land and loops into his land.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
so we cannot cut him off
Oh,
from
no.
access because we're taking the front part of it.
Yeah,
Right,
I'm
yeah.
surprised he would give us title to that future street, so, anyway, but
Whatever,
title, but with him having the right to put a street in there.
okay.
14B. Upon the signing of the agreement, the purchaser shall pay to the vendor solicitor in trust additional 10,000, which should be held in trust until such time as a culvert installation and road access relocation have been completed to the satisfaction of the vendor. We do not have anything in that section to distinguish what level we are building it to, so at what
But
point
it
do?
does in A, it says that it has to be 9 meters wide, culvert construction has to be 5.48 meters wide.
Right.
That connects them.
So is there a reason why that's not noted in B? So what is the point of B, other than the 10,000?
Nothing, it's just the 10,000.
So that's a lot of wording for just 10,000, I guess. I guess my question is, if with B, does it need to call out that in the previous section A, that it's being built to that standard? To be able to be given back the $10,000 deposit, I guess?
Don't think so, I know lawyer has drafted this, so.
I wonder if you could
Well,
just say as.
I've had some
as-
errors done by lawyers. I'm just asking the question is to say, like, is it necessary that in B, there should be something to call out the fact that what this level of satisfaction is actually A?
So that it's very clear and there's no phrase.
Yeah.
Yes, because otherwise, it could very well be, it might be not to the satisfaction of the vendor, but up to DTI
Up to
standards.
DTI standards, but maybe that's exactly the
Yeah.
Yeah,
case.
they can say that's not good
But that's
enough.
never going to be DTI
This is that
standards.
access.
This
Woods
is-
Road.
This is the Woods Road, that the
It's a driveway-
little
it's a driveway.
part
It's a
that
driveway
connects.
culvert, is basically all it is.
I think you could just put a clause in, like you said, and refer to A, as is like, to
Okay.
that
Yeah.
the.
As
actual-
described.
Just as described in section A.
Yeah, yeah.
Nothing scary, just to distinguish that.
Yeah, that would be good for further clarification.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Clarification.
Okay,
Cause they're just holding the $10,000 until we complete.
Until it's
the
satisfied.
driveway,
Yeah.
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 But it doesn't say in there any standards, just to their satisfaction. But what does their satisfaction mean?
Well, yeah, I think it was just,
I know it's good
Widths.
intent, it's just, yeah, it's just the word.
okay,
I mean, it's a driveway, so it's just, you know, a standard driveway shouldn't,
It shouldn't be hard for us to meet it,
yeah.
yeah.
it's just distinguishing what, or,
I'd like to know
Ask
what his expectation, I think I know.
Well, he, like I said, he
Yeah.
states it in A, that it's 9 meters wide culvert.
Yeah.
And
In the
it's a
5.5
minimum of
meter
5.4
wide. Yeah.
meters wide.
So it's like I said, it's a driveway to connect to the Woodrow, so, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so
I don't think it's gonna be overly complicated, so.
I'll ask the lawyers to change that. And if everybody is okay, then I just need a motion for the deposit, and then I'll need a motion for us to transfer money. So, council, you had budgeted $250,000 in the general operating fund for land purchases. And then we knew that our capital reserves are for land or whatever we choose. So my recommendation is that we transfer $500,000 from our capital reserves to our general operating, because we still have the cost of that road to do, and then our surveying costs and stuff like that. And then I would need another motion just stating that we are going to purchase it for the $609,200, and then one for the $10,000 for the culvert and road. So there's a few motions that have to be made on this.
Yeah, if you bring that down to basic math, we're getting 15 acres of land for about $40,000 an acre. If you wanna bring it down to something that you can imagine, rather than saying, 609,000, 15 acres. So acre lots in Hanwell now we're selling for 70, 75, 80, $90,000.
It's a good deal.
So when you're looking at $40,000 a lot, it doesn't seem too extravagant, or $40,000 an acre. Seems like a lot when you look at 609,000, but when you break it down per acre, it seems like a pretty good deal.
That's right.
Actually, it doesn't.
All right, if we're ready to go, then I, Councillor Mackenzie, move to authorize and direct the CAO to continue with negotiations to purchase the property.
No,
Oh,
you don't,
sorry.
sorry,
need it.
you wouldn't need that one, because you don't need me to negotiate anymore.
Oh.
All negotiated.
It's
Were
negotiable.
we,
Oh,
were we in?
oh, well, the agreement needs to be amended, but I guess that's fine, man. Okay, then I, Councillor Mackenzie, move to authorize and direct the CAO to pay a non-refundable deposit of $10,000 to the vendor's lawyer, David McMath, in trust, from the general operating account towards the purchase of property from Spring Hill Farms 2011 Incorporated, within 48 hours of signing the purchase and sales agreement.
Second.
Councillor DeCleva, second.
Any questions, comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried unanimously.
I'm gonna keep going, whereas council approved $250,000 for land purchases in the general operating fund, and whereas funds are in the capital reserve fund to be used for purposes such as land acquisition, I, Councillor Mackenzie, move to authorize the CAO to transfer $500,000 from the capital reserve fund to the general operating fund.
Seconder?
I, Councillor Holt, was second.
Any questions, comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Nobody contrary minded, motion carried, thank you.
Let me just keep going. I, Councillor
You're on a
Mackenzie,
roll.
move to authorize and direct the CAO to purchase 15.27 acres of property known as Lot 2025-1 from Spring Hill Farms 2011 Incorporated in the amount of $609,200 plus HST, less the $10,000 deposit at the closing date.
Seconder?
I, Councillor Heislip, second.
Questions, comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried, thank you.
One more, whereas Hamwell is responsible for the installation of a new 9-meter wide culvert and the construction of a new access road that is a minimum of 5.48 meters wide that connects with the existing access road known as Woods Road on Schedule 1. And whereas the culvert installation and road relocation are to be completed within 6 months of the closing date, and whereas upon signing the purchase and sales agreement, Hamwell must pay to the vendor solicitor in trust an additional sum of $10,000 which shall be held in trust until such time the culvert installation and access road relocation have been completed to the satisfaction of the vendor, I, Councillor Mackenzie, move to authorize and direct the CAO to provide a draft in the amount of $10,000 payable to the vendor's lawyer, David McMath, in trust.
Seconder,
I, Councillor Kraus, second.
questions, comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried. Thank you, council. Item F is the Black Arc Strategic Roadmap, and our CAO Terry is going to speak on this one.
Okay, council, so Black Arcs came and did a presentation with us. This was to do with various things that they can do with traffic flow, future economic development, different things that we could possibly use their software for. Our biggest concern was to be able to have some kind of a report that we could take back to the province to deal with our concerns for the traffic up at the industrial park and the Irving and stuff. So we had asked Black Arcs to provide us with a proposal of what they could do. So in the proposal, it actually came in a little bit higher than what I was thinking it would. However, this is something they have broken up into phase 1 and phase 2. So with the phase 1, it does talk about the traffic. Sorry, just 1 second. It talks about how they could be able to create something so that they could take past studies, future studies, so that we could provide something to the province. So I don't know if you got enough information from the package that they provided to you for you to make a motion this evening, or if you would like for me to get additional information from them. So I think if you wanted to do both phase 1 and phase 2, we did budget $75,000 under roads and streets for a study. So this could be covered under that. Or we could just do possibly phase 1 and then budget next year for phase 2, because I think phase 2, they didn't figure that it would start until like November, until April, so we could probably delay that until January and then budget for it. But if you would like additional information on this, I can go back to them and ask them what it might be, just to streamline it, just so that we have that report. Because from their proposal,
I don't think I have their proposal.
I didn't.
Electronically,
It's electronic.
yeah, we had,
I read it. But
It's long.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it was gonna be about probably around $30,000 all in all for phase 1. The whole phase 1 and phase 2 came in at $74,369. So I don't know if we are really to that stage yet. It was very interesting what we can do with it in the future. Don't know if that's where we are, but I will leave that up to you of what you would like to do.
Mr. Ross?
So I read this through and I'm a little bit confused. So I understood we were getting a tool, but when I look especially at phase 2, it almost looks like they talk about a vision, a mission, like it almost looks like they wanna do a whole strategic plan, and I wonder if that's the planning company that's involved in this. And the way I'm looking at it, we have a strategic plan, we're working already on a rural plan. I don't think we need another plan, I think we need a tool that we can use with respect to our plans. So for me, when I look at this, I see a value in phase one, but I don't really see the value in phase two.
I think maybe I misinterpreted, because the way I saw it was that what they were doing with the phase two was taking our existing plans, because they talked about the rural plan, remember when the presentation, and incorporating that into how the software would work for basically projecting into the future. Because that probably there's probably gonna be a lot of work involved in hours of setting all that stuff up, right? That's what I interpreted anyway, but it's possible I did that wrong. Maybe we get that clarified.
Councillor Heisler.
So what I noticed was similar to what Councillor Fox said, because the city sketch simulation seems to be coming in phase one, according to what they have here, and so are the simulation metrics aligning with community needs according to that. So I'm interested, very interested in phase one to see what they will bring back to council.
Can we get more clarification from them then on what phase two, what they're talking about specifically?
So, would you like for me to invite them back to the next management meeting, and us kind of talk further, ask them exactly like what they would like to, what we would like to have as far as kind of the study goes, like for the traffic situation, and see where that.
Yeah, now that they've given us like at least a lead for a proposal for it, now we can maybe have to ask some questions to them directly about the proposal. It would be worthwhile, I think, you know.
Councillor Duclair.
I think the way that it's worded is because they're a project team, so the way that it's worded is sort of in a project management form, which isn't always user-friendly for people who don't do that every day, but I think that's the way that it's worded, and I think that's why it has like that mission and vision and all that strategy. But to me, it sounds like the first phase is an information gathering phase, because if you look at the hours associated, there are far less hours with the first phase, and they're getting a baseline of all of the information. So yes, we get the city sketch initially because they just need that to start loading in the data. And then I think the second phase, from what I understand, is, well, I know that the first phase is getting a baseline from some of the community partners, but then the second phase is also like community feedback and then saying like, okay, what is the problem, and everybody's sitting down to kind of try to fix it. So I think that's why it's two parts, because they're like establishing what the status quo is and building that into their system, and then looking at like what do we want it to be and establishing the patterns that we're looking to achieve, I guess. That's what I understand, but we probably need
There's
clarification, I
definitely
guess.
confusion, yeah.
But I think that's what, I
Deputy Mayor
think
Jonah has
that's
her hand up next.
Well, when you're, not, no rush, when you're done. No, I guess my thought on the whole thing is too, you mentioned you're putting this into the same budget slot as our road feasibility study. Well, to me, they're two totally different things. This, to me, I think is great, because I think it gives us the evidence we're going to need to know what to do with our roads. But we also need to know the nuts and bolts of a road feasibility study, because we can plan all we want with these guys for roads in the future. But if we don't have any way of implementing it, you know, like, I mean, they're two separate things. We need to know, you know, what the roads, the cost and the value of the roads are, and, you know, whether we want them or we don't want them, before we go and decide that we want a road here, there, and everywhere that we can't control. So, I mean, I think there's a need for both projects, and I don't think we should place one over the other, because we've put off this road feasibility study for a very, very long time.
Councillor Dula.
I would invite them back to the management meeting and then have a series of questions.
Not a bad idea.
And I think in the end that we need all of it, like that is you know, literally an accident waiting to happen, and I think it would be a huge benefit to the community, so I agree, we should probably figure out how to do both, and if that's splitting up, like you said, like phase one and maybe pushing the phase two just into the new budget, maybe that's what we do, but
Yeah.
at least they might be able to say, that's probably not a good idea, or let's push the whole plan a month so that it just flows into the next year, I don't know, but.
Sounds like we need them back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't a budgeted, expense, but I think it's a really worthwhile
I
expense.
think so too.
So we just need to figure the timeline to get it done and to get the other road feasibility study done that we've been putting off for 5 or 6 years.
It's gonna help with learning how we can grow,
Exactly.
right? Like
It
it's
will.
gonna help us understand what things look like in our
I think,
communities.
I think their project was great.
I think if we move it till May, management session, then it's just automatically gonna
Yeah, that's right.
go
It's
to
gonna be
2026 anyway,
That's
the next
true.
part, phase
Might
two,
be.
so. Doesn't matter.
But at least they can answer our questions though.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely, we need some clarification.
And it doesn't have to be 6 of them, they don't like, if
Yeah.
it's too much
Yeah.
trouble for them, like, even
Yeah.
if just a couple people.
2 of them.
Yeah.
Fire around the questions. Bring
Yeah.
your, bring your questions and let them answer.
Yeah.
Doesn't need to be long.
So how about you guys come up with questions?
Mhm.
I will provide it to them beforehand so that they
That's a
have
good
time
idea.
to
Yeah.
think and be able to
Yeah.
research anything
Well,
and
yeah,
then
save
bring it
them,
back.
they're all
Yeah.
prepared and,
Okay.
Okay?
good idea.
Okay, we're good?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, item G, Canada Community Building Fund, we need a motion.
Okay, so council, I had provided the 5-year capital. This is the report that I need to send in. And just wanted to make sure that I've captured everything that you guys wanted on this. I did all the changes and stuff that we had talked about. We had talked about, we weren't sure if it was going to possibly be a pool, a field house, whatever, so I will describe it as a sportsplex. We'll just kind of put everything
Something catch-all.
under, yeah, so I'll just describe it as just a,
Big
because
building.
each one I have to give a description of what we're going to do, and like I said, this is a living plan, we can always be changing it, and we have left it right to the very end in 2028, so we certainly can make changes as new councils come, or whatever, because.
Okay, so I, Councillor Heisler, move that the document entitled Hamel 5-Year Capital Plan for the Canada Community Building Fund be adopted.
I, Councillor Dooley, second.
Okay, any questions, comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded, motion carried, thank you. Item H is our digitalization program. I'll Terry again.
Okay, so council, I wasn't planning on bringing this to you until, the management meeting or next month, but we had a meeting today. I had previously mentioned to you, there's a funding that became available at UNB where they feel that there is a great need for digitalization, in rural communities. So somebody had donated a lot of money to UNB to sponsor students to go into rural communities to help businesses, municipalities, or whatever. So in our meeting today, there was just the ones that were in our area. So it was like Grand Lake, Central York, Harvey, us, and Naquik area. So with this, we were talking, they wanted to know kind of what we would like for our students to do. I had mentioned that it would be a great opportunity. We've talked about having a business association for them to research it, go out to the businesses and talk to them, do all of this. It can also be used for other things. So if you happen to have heard in the news the last couple of days, Grand Lake just took over their provincial park. I guess it was private or
Yeah.
something, and now the municipality has taken that over.
Good for them.
So they were saying for their student, they really wanted somebody to really market the campgrounds and everything that could come with that. So that got me thinking tourism. So I said, you know, like we have the hotels, we could be getting them to promote our hotels, our campgrounds, and all of that. So I actually asked them if I could have 2 or 3 students, but they said that they would see. But I wanted to bring it forward tonight. Ignite is going to put it out there to take applications. UNB is also going to do it through their data so that it goes like to UNB students that would be in Hanwell. So they would be sent the information. So they want a student that is from that community because they would be the ones that are familiar with their community.
Good idea.
So we had the meeting, and then at 3 o'clock we received what the application and stuff is going to be, and they have a closing date of April the 20th. So
Wow.
that is why I wanted to bring it to you tonight. We'll put it up on our website as well with the links and stuff. However, just in case you guys had anybody approach you or ask questions, I didn't want you to not know what was going on. So they're going to, UMB is going to leverage the students in the community. We can bring the problem, they will find the student. The dates will be May 12th to August the 15th, and they are going to be under the payroll of UMB. So we don't have to put them under WorkSafe, we don't have to do insurance for them, we don't have to pay them, nothing. So it will be 36.25 hours, and it will be a rate of pay of $17.67. They are asking that they have an office or a desk. UMB will do all of the advertising along with Ignite. They're going to provide them with confidentiality forms. They will do the interviews, and we will just sit in on that interview because they were saying like it's got to be us that has a good working relationship with the students. They are also going to provide a project coordinator to look after all of the students and stuff. So really, it's not going to be a whole lot of stuff for us to do, but it's certainly going to be an extremely valuable for us. So I think it is a great opportunity. I had asked about laptops, and they were like, oh no, like most students all have their own laptops. I said I will provide our students with a laptop. I think that business owners, if they're going to give information, they're probably not going to just be on a student's
Yeah.
thing. So I will provide a laptop for our student and stuff. So they can either be here, or we will put them down in Island View with the Parks and Recreation people. So
Yeah, Councillor Fox.
So will we get information to actually be able to have a business record? Is
Yeah.
that kind of what we're looking for?
yeah, so
Yeah.
my thing is that I really think that we should, with those surveys that we had put out for the traffic concern, I already have some information, at least I have some contacts that I can actually provide to them, to the student, but they have also suggested, which I wouldn't even have thought of, they were saying that they could work directly with businesses to support their digital marketing, their websites and e-commerce. So if we didn't get as far, even if they did up a list of all of the businesses for us, so that our next step later on could be the business association, if they could get that groundwork for us, that would be key. They said that they suggested they could run training workshops for residents on digital tools such as Google Workspace, Zoom, help communities access e-services such as banking, healthcare, education, and gain real-world experience in community engagement, tech adoption, and digital strategy. So it's not just data entry or going to see things. They could actually be hosting workshops and stuff for our residents. So I think this is just a tremendous help to residents and stuff.
Just a comment, I think that would be great for a lot of seniors that are a little bit, unsure about computers and all that stuff, social media and everything. If they could host a few of those, that would be great.
Because when I had first started here, we had talked about doing a workshop for that and like trying to teach people, like some of the scams to be aware of and, like how you can kind of look at emails and be able to tell if it's phishing and everything else. So, there's so many things that we could do, but between the business association, the tourism, the workshops, I think that we could really use this student and hopefully maybe get 2 of them to do it, so.
That's
Anyway,
great.
I just wanted to, I will get this out tomorrow, and just in case anybody asks you, I would, if you guys have your own personal pages and stuff, I would certainly share it as much as you can, because it's a great opportunity for some of our students.
Okay, we're good? Moving on, item 9, proclamations. We do not have any upcoming activities. Item D is the Fire Smart NB EMO public meeting, Animal Place. That's April 24th from 7 to 9. So that should be quite interesting, and I'd like to see some council turn out to that. I think it's a good opportunity for our residents to get an idea on what they can do to make the property fire smart, and good opportunity for councils also. There's a Mystic Market and Psychic Fair coming up on Animal Place, April 26th from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. So anybody interested in getting their palms read, or cards read, or tea leaves read, or coffee grounds read, or whatever, it might be a real good opportunity. And we don't have a closed session for tonight, so our date, time, location of our next meeting is Council Chambers, May 21st, 2025 at 7 p.m. Going to get a motion to adjourn, please.
I, Councillor Cox, move to adjourn.
Meeting adjourned at 8:21.